Welcome everyone to Radiator Comics Studio. My name is Neil Brideau. My pronouns are he, him. I run Radiator Comics, which distributes self-published and small press comics. Radiator Comics Studio is a series of online programs and print publications designed to support and expand the cartooning community in South Florida and to connect it with the national comics scene. Radiator Comics Studio is supported by the John S. and James L. Knight Foundation, and we're grateful for their support. We are broadcasting today from Miccosukee land. The people from whom the land was stolen are still here and are still caring for this place. It's also important to acknowledge the history of African-American, Bahamian, Haitian, and other Caribbean people whose labor made South Florida what it is today. We have a lifelong responsibility to be better neighbors to the people and places where we're located and to work to dismantle white supremacy. And I want to wish everyone a happy Juneteenth. The reason the holiday exists and the relative obscurity of the holiday outside of Black communities speaks to the amount of work that white Americans have to do to confront racism in the United States. Expressing one's ideas and feelings through comics and zines can be really powerful. And one of our hopes with programming like today's is to make those tools of expression more accessible for everyone. So we're grateful to have you here, and we're super excited to have Eric Bonhomme for this demonstration on character designs with ink. Eric will be sharing his process and toolkit for inking and character design. I'm going to introduce Eric and then let him take over. So Eric Bonhomme is a South Florida artist who dabbles in comics, pinups, and the occasional dose of fan art. He grew up on Euro comics and dungeon fantasy games. His edgy yet dynamic art style reflects this. So welcome, Eric.
Hey, Neil, thank you so much for having me, and welcome everybody. So today we're just gonna do a process. I already did the pencil work on the character that I'm gonna work on. I have a little bit of a story that I put together for him, and yeah, I'm gonna share with you how I go about doing what I do. So let me change my screen real quick. All right, here we go. Over. I guess I can show you some supplies that I use in this craft. Basics, these brushes, sable brushes made from squirrel hair, horse hair. The idea is, you know, these types of brushes retain their tips and hold a lot of ink. So I've kind of become a collector of these kind of brushes. There's different brands that have different techniques on how they bind the heads. So it's a different experience. A little bit expensive, but they last a long time, so they're worth it. Lately, though, I've been using these Tombow brushes. They last pretty long, but this one has like a felt tip, and then this one's more of a hard edge tip. So it has pretty much the variety of this type of brush, but stiffer. And you don't have to worry about using inks like this and having water. This is kind of like the travel size option. Like if I were to go to a convention, these are the sets that I would use. Also a few, I guess, fine liners for details, variety of them, different tips, and a couple of different erasers, kneaded erasers. This is like a regular, I guess, Sharpie eraser that I got a while back. It's been used up. And this eraser, I usually cut my erasers sometimes to create certain edges if I want to cut, just erase just a portion. And a brush like this is to give some splatter effects. Maybe I can just dip it and use it to make a mark. I like spontaneous marks in my designs. So this would probably get used up a lot. And when I create these drawings, I use these color erase pencils. I like to have the blue, the red, and the magenta, and a graphite. She couldn't see that, sorry. Yeah, just to like kind of help me piece out where I want, you know, some overlapping and whatnot. And, yeah, that's pretty much the materials. If you're using ink, you have some water, you have some paper towels, and yeah, we're good to go. I'm just gonna go in and tell you a little bit about this guy. I actually wrote it down somewhere. So this is the Agent of Doom. He is from a society where they've come to understand that there's a lot of multiple universes and dimensions, and they want to take complete control over these realms by pretty much eliminating all of their different versions in this world, those other worlds. So people from this planet are all agents of doom. They are geared with this time capsule backpack and this huge blaster gun. They vary per person, but I wanted to do like a best looking dude. So the story with this guy is he's sent on a mission to kill his other selves, and he's already at, you know, 1 million deaths on his plate, and he encounters his version of himself as a child, and then notices how his younger self has pure innocence, and he can't bear to, you know, end this life. So it begins to conflict with one character. So how I came about this character, I wanted to have someone with just an agenda and find himself in a situation where he's never been able to just, you know, comprehend. You know, it's alien to him. He only knows killing and total chaos and destruction, and that he must be the only one left with his, you know, species. All right, so in this piece, I'm kind of like looking for some places where I'm just outlining some details. I'm also keeping in mind where I'm going to keep like some of the spot blacks. In some areas, you can see they're kind of shaded in. It's kind of where I'm going to fill in the blacks. So I'm kind of just doing like a little guide, taking what I like from the drawing and elaborating it a little bit. I actually do like a story with this guy. I want to elaborate with it more. That's all I have so far on him, what his motives are and what his predicament is. And that's kind of like how I create stories. I find something random that I think is cool. Try to find some conflict, see how I can merge those together. And, you know, there could be a point where it doesn't work out. But I wasn't like, I didn't invest too much time creating this character. I could easily just dismantle him and have him have a different purpose. But for today's sake, he is the Agent of Doom. It's got some, what is it? It's like evil vibes, but it's super metal. Keeps it interesting. So this is like a little time capsule thing. I think in the past 2 years, I started to flip my paper around. Before I used to just draw straight on. And I asked myself, why am I not moving the paper? Why am I not doing this? And once I started doing this, it kind of changed the way I view things, because you have so much more access to it. It's so freeing, knowing these little hacks. And switch off to my mains. So he's got a lot of little gadgets and pouches. I don't know if you guys grew up also on, Image Comics. A lot of pouches. Like Stephen Platt would draw that. Jim Lee. The whole Image crew. I don't know. I just love utility. It's like I have so much crap on me. What do I do with it? A little detail I added to this guy is he has these little eyeball drones that kind of float around him. These are the scouts that would seek out his alternate universe self. And they all have like little different capabilities. One can see in infrared, the other one can see in chromatic colors. They all have different features because every being they encounter is just a little bit different. So that's part of his tool set. He's got one here, and he's got one at the bottom there. And these are the kind of things you want to emphasize in your character designs. These are the things that build and make your character. They add that little extra. I almost did the zoom from the Procreate to go in and do this detail. That's the interesting and fun part about transitioning from digital to traditional. Pinching and doing all of that. And my other hand sometimes would do like the control delete, control backspace. Yeah, you guys know what I'm talking about. So I want some dark areas here. I'm seeing maybe there's like some light emanating here, so it's gonna be a little bit darker on this side. So I'm not gonna draw like all the different orbs. Enhance. How cool would that be? We've advanced so much in technology, especially in the arts, where we can do what we do digitally and just apply those little details. It might not be like, the actual drawing. Maybe it's just like a holographic image that's projected. I'm thinking way outside the box. And then you see like the expand of the face and you just go in and then boom, go back to what that was. So I'm gonna add some cool details. I like skulls and you know creepy stuff. So I always try to find a way to add them to my characters. There's just something about these elements that I'm attracted to. Uh, my characters tend to be very uh, uh, villainous. That's due to like my love for like dark fantasy stuff like that. I find a lot more interesting characteristics in these types of characters. I don't know if you all are fans of Warhammer, stuff like that. Actually, I did put another eyeball here. So when I'm using this pen, it's awesome. It's easy to just do a line and then use the broadside to create some nice volume to make that stick out. I should put I'm probably gonna have a link in my, I'm gonna add a link to my LinkedIn tree, not LinkedIn, my link tree on the supplies that I use. I think that will definitely help instead of just saying it, just give you the direct link to where I'm buying my stuff. Trying to make things a lot easier for and more accessible for folks. Like when I stream on Twitch, I completely forget, and then we finally started doing some commands uh, for like supplies, that kind of thing. But not everybody's watching Twitch, so we're gonna make those links. It's coming together. More pouches here. And what could be in these pouches? I don't know. Maybe he's got a little kit for if he gets wounded. Maybe it could be food. These are the little things that I'm thinking about as I'm designing characters. I love drawing little trinkets. It's like, oh, what is that from? Like, which version of him that he killed that uh, had that? And what's the story behind that little thing? we can also add some contrast. I see that I'm putting some shadows here, but I don't want to put shadow in this area. This will kind of pop. I might just have a few strokes lightly on some ends. Yeah, I'm in the dancing mood. I'm listening to some future funk music in the background, and it's bumping. Big music is important when you're creating. It definitely sets a vibe, for me at least. Especially since the drawing is done, there's no more like figuring out. I guess in the stage where I'm drawing, I'm listening to more calming music, more classical stuff, some jazzy, something super light. So I'm still focused on, okay, I need to do this, I need to elaborate on that. I got the idea for these pants. If you guys remember MC Hammer, these are kind of like Hammer pants. Gotta give this guy like some cool like 90s vibes. That's the name, parachute pants. So to keep it consistent, I decided to keep the ball at the end of this. Adding a little bit of the electromagnetic wavelength effects on it. Yeah, when I'm creating weapons and strange like devices, I think of very odd shapes. I try not to think too much of the constraints of the boxy types of things. And that could work in some situations, but this is a character from a make believe dimension. You know, how do you make this extra unique? Keep that in dark. Actually, there's one piece of um, material that I haven't shown. It's the white paint that I use to cover whatever areas I think I made a mistake on. I'm gonna go grab it in a bit. Once I get to that point. And mistakes are subjective. It probably just means that I may want, like, a light highlight to cover this area. And I would just take a little brush and clear that path. And then it looks like just a highlight there. It's a good tool. I don't remember the name of the brand, but I'll go get it in a second. I think it's some of the facial features. Well, he's just gonna have like glowing eyeballs in the highlight that shows like his nose. So I want this area to be kind of mysterious. So he has humanoid like features, but his body is different. It's a lot elongated. His head shapes are different. He's built different. And I like to create these types of odd characters that it takes a moment to digest what you're looking at. And that's like my fine arts background coming into play. I like to see the emotions of the viewer. How do you feel about this? Do you vibe with this dude? Come on, add another couple things there. I feel like I was missing that. Just knock that out real quick. And you can tailor this process to, however you'd like. You can do it cleaner. You can just use one type of brush or tool, whatever works. If this was for a studio, it'd be a little bit tighter, and then I would have call outs in some areas, like to guide people. So if, let's say, this thing here is like an aluminum type of base. I would call out aluminum and then maybe draw like a little bit of a texture of what the aluminum texture would look like. Maybe it's like beaten aluminum. This like skull, shoulder, pauldron. Maybe it's like an ivory texture. You know, I would call that out. A lot of different things. If there was color on here, also do some color call outs. Yeah, I think here there's a bunch of like smaller cables. So I'm using this thinner. Pen to get that. You know, variety of line weight is very important. You know, you want some thin lines, some thick lines. These are, yeah, these are the cables that are attached to the device. I made it really exaggerated, you know, why not? We can do that. I have a lot of little connection knobs. So the drawing is, you know, a guideline. You know, I don't really go with every single line that's in there. You know, there's, you pretty much are going with what works. So here would probably be a good example of where I would use that white ink. So I wanted this tube like that's inside here go and overlap this. So I'll probably use a little bit of the white to block these out. I'm going to use the brush in a second. Just want to like kind of blacken these areas. All right, so ink with brushes. If I was going for some detail, I usually have a piece of paper on the side to test out. Oh, this is very diluted. Okay, it's not the right ink. Hold on. Yeah, I have a few bottles, and look at this one on a label. I have different varieties of black and grays that I use. Instead of going through all that right now, just there we go. That's another thing. When you start getting into ink, you begin to, find out like what you like, creating your own tool sets. That's good. I just want to block it in and maybe have some tight details in some areas. a little bit what I drew in there. That's okay. There's still some of it that's showing. I'm not 100% precious with my drawings. If I see something that's not working, I'm not hesitant to obliterate it. I feel like when you are too attached, you kind of lose a lot of the potential, you know. There could be one thing that's wrong with it, and that's the only thing, that's the thing you should change. Actually, let me rephrase that. If there's something that's working and it's something that's not working, but you're still like on the fence about it, you might as well just, you know, lose it and redo it. And I remember I said that this is kind of like a weathered texture, so I'm kind of using the broad side of the brush to give me these rough moments. It's just not so perfect. It has to be perfect. And make sure the brush is dry enough and wet enough that it's applying. And again, if you have your little, this is like your little cheat sheet, and see how much is there. Apply some paint, so not paint, ink, and then try it, because these are the things that kind of really bring out your pieces. These not uniform lines. And I wish I had some twigs from outside. I got to grab those. I like to use, you know, certain tools that are not, you know, accustomed to what you would normally do. So, you know, you take like a really cool twig, dipped in ink, and then just kind of swirl it around and see, you know, what you get. It's a pretty cool way to do it. I spent a lot of time. I've been a graphic designer for about 7 years. I've done a lot of like cool texture jobs to add pattern, and I would, you know, do a lot of things with nature, finding, you know, fallen twigs and leaves, stamp them with ink, scan them, see like what cool thing I could apply that to. I'm probably gonna come back with that white to add a little rim white in here. It's so satisfying when you're using the brush. Like the pen's dope, don't get me wrong, but man, it is something about this feeling, making these marks. Feels really good. And go cheap, you know, there's a lot of like affordable versions of these types of brushes. And then once you get like a taste for it, go in and you'll see like these last, the more expensive ones last a lot longer. I've had, this is like my favorite brush. You might see Kim Jung-ji use this one. This is a Kurotake. I forget which number it is, but I've had this for 5 years and it's retained its tip. And it's a dope looking brush. Look at that. So this character, he's encountered his younger self, you know, just being a kid, playing. You know, he has his blaster right in his face, and then the kid just kind of, you know, without a care in the world, is playing with the ball and kind of offers him the ball, you know, to play with him. And our character is a little bit perplexed. He's either threatened by the situation, but he's actually intrigued because he doesn't notice the fear that most of his counterparts had when he extinguished their lives at moments, you know, before. And of course, you know, this creates uh, the greatest conflict because, you know, while he's in this world, there's another agent that's there to extinguish themselves in the same world. Notice that he doesn't end the life. And I guess you can kind of put it together what happens. You know, he just actually has the change of heart. Now the quest begins. How does he topple his tyrannical, you know, upbringing? Because you know they're going to be after him. He's disrupting the balance. It's kind of like the Joker character, except he has you know a little bit of compassion, but he likes to instigate a little bit of anarchy here and there. Adding a little values inside of this area. I'm going to use the pen for this one. Holy crap, 15 minutes in? Yeah, if you guys have questions. I
Anyone?
just started looking. What's that?
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was saying, like, if you want to have everyone ask questions, that's cool. I didn't realize it was going so fast.
This has been really fantastic to watch. If anybody does have questions, you're welcome to either put it in the chat, or if you want to ask your question verbally, you can click the raise your hand button in the reactions tab of your Zoom screen. I wanted to ask, so you have this whole story. Is this a story that you would want to eventually like put in comics form or some other like media, or is this just helpful for you to create your character?
You can say like this is like my sandbox. You know, this is where I would generate a character, have a title. I do have like a universe that I've created, and I kind of input characters where they need to be from time to time. And if he fits, you know, pretty much like a big arc of, you know, that particular story, I would introduce him. You know, I definitely would fine tune him a bit and go forward with that. But yeah, this is like my play. This is why I like to have fun and not get too serious about anything, you know, because I feel like once you get too, okay, this is the character from this world, then you've already disserviced yourself by, you know, creating so much pressure. You know, I need to create a character for this and this, you know.
So does that mean that, so your Instagram is like full of like really amazing drawings, like, you know, similar to this? Is that, should we assume that like each of those characters has some like piece of a story that you've created to help you sort of like play in your sandbox?
Yeah, they all have like something. Eventually, I want to do like an encyclopedia of the Skullbash world. You know, like just characters that never like made it or characters that have made it. Just a little description and, you know, a drawing to accompany it. I think would be pretty neat because I do like this is one book. It's called the Codex something. It's like this really strange encyclopedia of like made up biology, plant life, humanoid, crab. You know, it's just like somebody made a book, weird language, and that's always been very impactful. So that's kind of how I would have loved this atlas to be, like of creatures from this world or characters and whatnot. But yeah, all those characters that you see on my Instagram, if I've done them on like Twitch or on my own, they have some sort of backstory. Some of them interconnect to others, but not all of them are in the narrative form, just because it would be too overwhelming.
Thanks. So we have a question from Alo who asks, how do you deal with the paper getting wavy from using too much ink?
I don't. If it gets wavy, it gets wavy. Let me see. So from what I've used, that's why I try to like vary my tools. I use these pens that are a little bit drier. If I'm heavy on the ink, I don't think it matters. You know what I mean? Like if it looks good, it looks great. But if you want to avoid like wavy textures, so let's say this is the drawing side. On this side of the paper, apply gesso on here. Maybe 1 or 2 coats of gesso, and that's going to stiffen your paper as if it's, you know, you're going to paint on it. So this side, even if you were to apply heavy amounts of, you know, liquid, it wouldn't buckle as much. So that's another hack you can use.
Well, and we have a question from Gail that's kind of like a follow-up to that, and that's what paper do you use?
This is like a regular Bristol. I like Bristol and vellum. I like smooth surface, but I'm not picky to it. If the texture is nice, I even used like it's really hard bound typing paper. I think it was like 120 pounds. The heavier, the better, obviously. For some sketchbook work, I like thinner papers. Just depends on the mood, really. I'm not necessarily picky with, as long as I could ink on it, draw on it, I'm good to go. You know, and that's from experimentation. You know what I mean? I have like drawers full of different types of paper that I've experimented with, and you know, these are the ones that seem to work well with my mediums.
The next question is from Alo, who asks, do you prefer drawing on loose paper or in sketchbooks?
Both. I like to keep a diary, like a sketch journal. So I could pull one out real quick. Yep. So this is like a sketchbooks. As you can see, you know, I have graphite, I have ink, I use Post-its and overlap stuff. You know, you see, I'm experimenting also. Sketchbook is not, you know, like the lookbook, it's just where I'm practicing certain techniques. So, you know, like this character, I think I drew this much larger somewhere else. So the idea was there. This is a sketch for a commission, how it started, and definitely ended a lot differently. Yeah, lettering, Post-its, a little bit of color in this one. I think I have like stuff glued together. Oh, little saucy stuff there. Yeah, I mean, I forget what's in that sketchbook. So let me get back to. But yeah, I like to draw on both loose paper and sketchbooks.
Mantis asks, what markers do you use for color?
I like the Copic markers. They are a little bit expensive, but I only use just a few different colors that I need. And I have a small watercolor kit that I use that I like. gonna add more of that texture from there. To like got a little dry.
Alo asks, do you have a specific brand of sketchbook?
This one that I showed you, this is it's a Fabriano. This one's nice because the paper's thin and get a lot done in it. I do like the Moleskines. I haven't tried, who have been telling me to try I think it's called Sketcher sketchbooks. I think they're a little bit thicker, multimedia. I'm not too picky. I look at it, the size looks good, price is good, let's go.
Nice. Alo prefers the Illo sketchbooks because they're square.
Illo, that's what it's called. Yeah, sorry. That's the one they're telling me.
And then Parrish asks if you could remind us what types of brushes you're using, what the brands are.
Right. This one is, I don't know if you guys have a Blake near you or Jerry's Artorama, but these are the brands I use. This is at Isabey. It's the French brush. These are the more expensive ones. Isabey, the 6223. And the other brands are just, this is actually a cheap knockoff that I got. It's a Creative Mark one that I got from Blick. It's the size 4. So the sizes that I ink with they vary from like, I have some thinner ones, but size 2, size 8, size 4. The higher the size, the more, because the bristles cost a little bit more each time they press them. And then these right here are awesome. I got this from AliExpress. It's super cheap. I think I got 20 of these for like $3. They come in different sizes. Some of them broke. Obviously they're not well made. But a trick is like where they clamp the stem, you can get like a plier and then like repress it. So that'll fit for that particular situation. What else? Other brushes. I have these bigger ones for bigger areas. This is a Princeton fluff brush. A lot of these are like used brushes that I've had over the years. It's like a cheap brush that comes in those packs of like 12 for like $1. You can see like it's torn up, but it works for texture and stuff like that. Every brush has a use, so just push your brushes to their limits and figure out like what works for you as a creative.
And Alo asks, what brand of watercolor do you use?
Winsor Newton. They're a classic. They do what they were meant to be. You could definitely go and get some better brands, but those definitely worked for me. And they have like a really nice kit. Let me pull it out. Can't find it, sorry. But I did find these. These are some Lucas watercolors. Um, I also use these. Very affordable. I think this was $10 on Jerry's Autorama. It's a nice set. Just got this one the other day. I ran out of the other ones. And the cool thing is you can use the Winsor Newton like little box that it comes in, and the little cubes, you just replace them. I would just get the wet and re-dip them and then let them dry and then reactivate them with the water. I almost forgot about this little eyeball here.
So, and we have another question from Alo asking, do you go back and erase your pencil marks once you're done inking?
Yeah, some of them. Usually, sometimes I draw like a little hard, so like the pencil tends to stay a little bit, but I think it kind of like adds a lot of the for those particular like this area here. I try to erase it a bunch and it won't come off. I'll use that white ink I was telling you about to get rid of it if it's getting in the way of the outcome of the piece. If it's not, it's cool. It's kind of like the underpainting. You get to see like the skeleton from underneath. But there'll be places where, like I said, I'm going to take out little area here, maybe this, because I can erase that. Maybe add like another highlight in here and then here. Where else? That's it for thinking about putting up.
We have a question from Alex who asks, do you ever utilize the Zen/automatic/meditative drawing technique as a warm-up? And if not, do you have some other way to prepare your mind for drawing?
I've heard of that technique. I've used it a few times in my specific manner, like just kind of taking a sheet and just loosely drawing, not really concerning myself with what I'm creating, just so like, but it also became like an arm workout, just to loosen up. I guess before I draw, because this is part of that's for me part of a lifestyle, like how to prepare for anything, just I try to wake up uh, to, go outside into nature, just relax, kind of, diffuse from everything that I've, experienced the day before, kind of cleansing the palate, drinking some water, kind of thinking about, all the cool shit that I want to do, and jumping back in, and doing some warm ups. I do work out as well. I try to keep like, my health, because if you don't have good health, you're not going to be able to do this for the longevity. So it all becomes a lifestyle. Just figuring out like what's your balance. It's taking a walk to clear your mind and get some movement into your body. Recently got this table. It's also a standing desk, so like up and down, so I'm actively moving. I didn't do it here because my camera is rigged to it, so I wasn't able to get it up. But usually I draw standing, and I don't have a particular like routine to jump into a drawing. I naturally have like an excitement in my head to get a drawing done. Like for this particular event, I was loosely thinking about this character, and I was like, man, I'm excited. I can't wait to start drawing this guy. So that hype in itself gave me the motivation, and the drive to get some of the details of, the backstory and all that stuff. I hope that answered the question. I think I kind of went on a tangent.
No, that was a great answer to a great question. These have all been really fantastic questions. Alo asks, where did you get your desk?
So I made this desk. The frame I bought on Amazon, I think during the pandemic. It was like $200. It's like a dual motor up and down. But I bought 3 pieces of is it 2x4s. It took me like a day to prep this desk. Sand it, put it together. It still has like a lot of imperfections, but I think it's cool. And then glazing it with the lacquer. So it feels nice. It's like I built this desk instead of just buying like a really expensive butcher table for like $1,000. I realized maybe I should make tables. I have kind of a little knack for it. Yeah, it's cheaper. Like it cost me $60 to get the materials for this. It took me a day or two to put it together versus $500 on a top. Plus, you've customized a desk for yourself, and you're doing it for a good purpose. And it's good to like have a variety to stand and sit when you want. It's good for your posture. Um, I feel like it's, as I get older, I understand the value of these things. When I was younger, I couldn't care less. I'll sit on the floor. Now I'm just like, no, not an option. Maybe I could put together a list of the supplies that I got, or link the YouTube video that I watched that helped me make the table.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Just because it's an ink drawing doesn't mean you can't add other elements to it. I tend to default to this circular texture, like it's definitely, it's symbolizing infinity. So I use that a lot. I think it's kind of cool. Like it breaks the space just a little bit. I would probably go in here with maybe some like a light gray or something.
What is that blue thing that is holding your pencil?
Oh, so when your pencil gets short, this kind of holds it. So you can have like a pencil with a tiny tip, and this will lock it in place. So you have extra. So those little pencils that you keep throwing away, you can utilize them until they're completely done. I researched and like there has to be like a tool that can freaking accommodate this, and you can get these in any art store or Amazon. I think I got this like in a pack of 3. It's got different colors. If that's your fancy. Um, yeah, some are better than others. You have to kind of figure out which one works. Because there's some that are like super loose and they won't grip onto the pencil. I might have a little bit of wash on this. It might be. How are we doing on time? Are we past the point?
Yeah, but that's okay. This has been pretty amazing watching you draw this. Mantis asks, how do you plan out a new design for a character or anything else?
Like a basic, usually I figure out like what kind of pose I want. Is it going to be like a stoic pose? Or if it's going to be like a relaxed pose, then I figure that out. And then I kind of have a basic skeleton of what the character is doing. Let's say the character's, having their hands up and they're munching on something. I'll have that planned out before, like just rough sketches. Like the doodles are super. I kind of wish I had some examples of some really rough sketches. Nothing is very detailed yet, and then once I start using the different colors of the color erase is when I kind of, this area is going to be definitive, for his headgear or chest piece and whatnot. And then we just design off of that. You have the template, and then you build off of it. Would be just the best way I could explain it. A little bit more. So you see, I'm not too worried about I'm actually adding water to this, and I'm not sweating it. And I could also do this with markers, but so I'm using the brush, and I haven't used the brush in a while. I like to do this. Just pull some value in, some values back.
I'm assuming that your comfort with the tools came with time and experience. At what point did you stop sweating it?
I think the more you use ink, ink is a very unforgiving tool to begin with. And I think once you understand how this medium works, your comfort goes from super uncomfortable to very comfortable. It just takes time to understand the tool. You know, when you have like that first eureka moment, like, oh my God, like, okay, this is how this works. Then that's when you really can start having fun. And then your marks, you get very confident. And even if you quote unquote make a mistake, you have the white ink, which I still haven't gotten to show you, and make those corrections. And it's very opaque, so it's like, you know, you just getting the white paper back. You'll see definitely a lot of comic artists use whiteout, and whiteout is cool. I think it's great for like some textures, but you can't really ink on top of whiteout. Like if let's say you wanted to do some marks on top of it, it's just not gonna let you because of the oil consistency. But this other opaque paste is not as crazy. Excuse me. So it's a joy to work with if you want to continue inking. And also, I don't know if you noticed, I'm kind of like all over the place. I don't really stay in one area for too long because that's kind of like when you get too noodly with things. And you want to make sure like everything is balanced. Not one, like you can definitely overwork an area. Like I want some of the details to be here, here. Like I definitely want the weapon to be kind of like a wow factor in this piece, and everything else is just kind of like complementing it. And then here, just kind of pulling value, you know, having the these kind of pop out forward, and then those recede back. You're playing a game in a sense. Like, what do I want to show in the foreground? What do I want to pull in the background? The more you do this, the more, like I said, with the ink, you get comfortable and you have a good time. I also do have like a white ink pencil. Um, and now it's getting a little wet in some areas, so I'm not gonna like bother it too much. I'm gonna probably let it dry. And then, maybe I'll let it rest for a bit and then work on it later on and then post it. Not sure if I'll. That's the thing. You want to also know when to pause on your piece. You could also have a hair dryer on standby to dry up some areas that are too wet. Nice wash over this. Actually, I'm gonna use the so I'm gonna add a little bit of ink here. Diluting it. It's wet. So I'm gonna let that dry. I think I'm good for now. I'm gonna let this piece settle. Then maybe in a couple hours come back and work on it. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this presentation. Hope it was educational and fun. I enjoyed myself.
That was amazing. Thank you so much, Eric. It was really magical to like watch the whole thing come into being, and you gave us so many great tips on so many aspects of inking. I am gonna paste in some links into the chat. Whoops. So these are links to Eric's Instagram and Linktree. Also, Eric is going to be appearing at the online convention Pop Shop Live, August 28th and 29th. And let me pop back in. So please, check out Eric's stuff, support him. I've also pasted in a couple links to Radiator Comics Studio. We're finalizing our schedule for July, but we do have a few social events that are happening in the remainder of June. So next Sunday, June 27th from 5 to 6:30 p.m., we are hosting Cartoonist Coffee, which is our semi-monthly social event for cartoonists of all experience levels. Please join us for casual small group conversations with peers. The more, the merrier. And then every Friday, we host Open Studio, which is a time where you can work on your comics in the presence of others. We have quiet 20-minute work sessions and then 10-minute breaks in between where we socialize and get to know each other. And then in addition to these social events, we have a Discord through which you can chat with other cartoonists and learn about comics that opportunities that are coming up. And then lastly, we also have copies of the Sun and Sand comic anthology, which is a anthology that Radiator Comics co-published with Black Jose Press. It features 10 wonderful comics from South Florida artists about South Florida. If you go to sunsandcomics.wordpress.com, you can read them for free online. You can download it as a PDF, or you can request a physical copy. And if you pay for the postage and handling, we will mail you a copy. So yeah, thank you so much to everyone who joined us today and for all the fantastic questions. And thank you especially for, let me paste this in. Oops.
Yeah, just link the white ink. We forgot to.
Sorry, this is sent only to me.
Oh,
here we go. So there's the white ink link. So yeah, thank you everybody for participating. Thank you so much, Eric, for that amazing demonstration. I can't wait to see the image posted. Are you going to post it on your Instagram?
Yeah, probably either if I'm done tonight or tomorrow. Either way. I'll definitely link Radiator and let you on all that.
Cool. Yeah, we'll definitely share it. And yeah, so everybody, follow Eric on Instagram
Thank you
see
everybody for being here. Appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope to do this again soon.
Cool. Thanks everybody. Have a great weekend.
Peace.
Bye.